Okay, we're going to start out with a little bit of review on the law of obscenity. I'm going to go through some common terms. We'll look at the Miller test in a little bit more detail, and then I'm going to touch briefly on some of the issues that you read in the readings, and then we will explore them further in class and, if need be, in future PowerPoints. So, obscenity, notice that I say it's a narrow class of material defined by the Supreme Court. First of all, if material is deemed to be obscene, it has no protection under the Constitution. So as soon as something is deemed to be obscene, it's automatically has no protections and is gone. So people who are producing things don't want it to be seen as obscenity. So if you're a director of a film, you don't want to push the boundaries too far, because if you do and it's found to be obscene, the film can't be released. And notice that it is a narrow class of materials. The vast majority of things produced, even things that you may consider vulgar, and you in our regular speech every day that says something is obscene, it doesn't rise to the level of the Miller test. So it's a small amount of stuff that's produced every year in film that would be considered obscene, and nowadays it rarely gets made, because why spend the money when you know it's going to not be able to be released to make a profit. We have also talked about indecent material, and that is sexually graphic material, often referred to as, I say, adult or sexually explicit. But since it is not rising to the level of obscenity, it still has First Amendment protections, as we've talked about with music. But it can be, under the FCC's ruling, can be barred to be available for children, televised, broadcast, over-the-air radio, but also in film. So the way that they deal with it in film is those are the ones that are NC-17. We say we're going to release it, but you still have to be, almost an adult, technically speaking, to be able to view the material. So it's definitely sexually graphic. And then we have the term pornography. This term, as we define it, I say has no legal significance, because basically we would have to say pornography may fall into the category of obscenity under the Miller test, but it turns out that it's an odd grouping, because no broadcast channel, no cable channel allows pornography, even if you pay for the service. HBO, they could, but they don't. Showtime, they show a lot more than your everyday show would portray, but they're shown usually in the later evening, past that moment when they're into safe harbor from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. But for the most part, you can expect that if you put your child in front of a television set and leave the room, when a child flicks through the channels, even onto pay channels, they're not going to run into full-on pornography, because no one has agreed to broadcast it. However, it does have, it's considered a little bit different than obscenity, because if you invite it into your home, then it's fine. Some pay-per-view movies are pornographic, and there's some films. Once we get through the NC-17, whether it's pornography or not, that's the highest rating they can give. So that's possible for films in adult theaters to be shown, because again, you're making the positive step to invite it in. either into your home by paying for it specifically. And normally speaking, someone who is ordering pay-per-view pornography is not doing it around the whole family. Or if you walk into an adult bookstore, again, you are the one, at this point, literally opening the door to it. So the courts say that pornography is kind of an odd place nowadays. It's generally not shipped through the mail in the sense of, well, that's a bad statement on my part, sorry. Nowadays, it's less shipped through the mail because you can watch things online. You can buy web subscriptions, so it's not that much of an issue. It quit being an issue with the Postal Service about 20 years ago. After the Miller test, Miller v. California, it took about 10 years for the Postal Service to kind of start figuring out what it should send, what it shouldn't. And then what it finally just said is, since it doesn't necessarily and oddly fall directly under obscenity, people do have the right to order it, and then we would ship it. So we'll do that. The way that things would shake out is that individual cities, counties, states could say, we deem pornography as obscenity and you may not ship it. And because we've deemed it as obscenity, then it loses all its First Amendment rights. And that actually had happened in Jacksonville for a long time. Duval County had an ordinance that defined it specifically as pornography, and thus it couldn't be sent to them through the mails. So anyone who wanted to order it, there was no way to get it then delivered to you. And then that all changed about 10 years ago. And I'm going to stop here with this one and start recording on the next PowerPoint.